Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Mercuri, and I'm with Mancuso Show Management. I'm happy to be here with you today. I am speaking today with a very, very talented crochet artist, Stephanie Pokorny of Crochetverse. And she crochets full body garments and especially Halloween costumes. Stephanie is from Mentor, Ohio, and has been crocheting since she was 16. And her grandmom was actually the one who taught her. She loved it so much that she decided to make it her passion and what she does today. And so, as I was saying, she crochets these ridiculously amazing full body costumes for her children. And they can take up anywhere from like 25 to 40 hours to create in about 2 weeks to complete. She has an online business, as I mentioned, in Crochetverse, and you can find her patterns there as well as a ton of inspiration. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm super excited. As I mentioned earlier, I saw a clip from something that was on Facebook, and I was like, I have to interview Stephanie. It is so amazing, and so I'm so grateful that that you accepted my invitation. Can you tell me a little bit about your background?
Really, I would say my background is more so than any training of any sort, would just be passion for the craft form and love for my kids is what I think really is the driving force, because the first thing like you said, I started when I was 16. So my grandmother sat down. She used to make small like lap gowns for our like local veterans hospital. And I thought it looked cool and I wanted to do it. So she started to teach me. Well, I'm 16. And so I'm like, couldn't get it the first time. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do this. And so I put it down for like 5 years. But then I got pregnant with my first child. And so the mom genes kicked in. And from there, I was like, okay, now I want to be making stuff for my kids because I've always been, my mom was always very much into like history and heritage and handmade and things like that. So I wanted to be able to make things for my children that I could pass on the love of handmade to them too through that. So really it would just be the love of crafting and the love of my family is the background and the reason that I do this.
I mean, that is so amazing, and it is so important, especially today in the world of technology. Kids are kind of like addicted to technology, that you could actually pass something down that's not that's handmade, that's special. And I'm sure that your kids appreciate these amazing costumes. So how did you go from doing lap crochet work to blankets to making these amazing costumes?
So first things, with my beginning crochet patterns, I would make sure that I only had a pattern that had 2 or 3 rows in it because I was a beginner and I didn't know. And then I decided, okay, I'm just going to try to expand my skills. And then my last child was born. I have 4 boys. So my last child was born, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try to make a costume. Like jumping from patterns to freehand is kind of scary because you're on your own. Like, how do I do this? And so I made my very first costume that I made for him was the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. And so I created that, and my goal when I started that was to pay as much attention to the smallest details as possible. I like to be really detail oriented. Like if there's one tiny line on the left, I'm going to put one tiny line on the left. And while somebody else who may not necessarily be so focused on details will recognize that, they'll make a better connection if you add the little line on the left without really knowing that they're making a connection, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So I made that costume for him, and I belong to the online community of crochet Facebook groups, which is extraordinarily large, and you wouldn't really even realize it until you get into that world. So I posted it, and it got tons of good reception, and my son loved it, and I loved it. It was fun, and it was rewarding, and I like to be able to share that with you know, making something for my son. So from there, I was like, okay, this feels good and somewhere something that I want to pursue. So that's where it started.
And really, it totally catapulted, because I mean, a caterpillar costume versus, you know, the predator, you know, costume that you have that we'll see in a little bit. Like, I mean, the detail and the specific. I mean, it is truly amazing. I mean, what were your thoughts in how you were like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm going to make it exactly look like the movie's Predator.
So I think for me in the crafting world or the fiber arts world, I make sure to never compare myself to somebody else's skill level. Like, oh, I can't do this because this person is to always make
We
my
did pause
next
a little bit
project
there.
better than my previous project. So I always try to outdo my own self. And so what started out as a caterpillar, which I thought was pretty good, you know, but now looking back on it, I'm like, oh, I could have done so much more with that. So, and I think that will just continue to build. So I always try to outdo myself and build my skill level.
And that's amazing. I'm just looking forward to next Halloween so I can see what the kids are
Me
going to
too,
be.
because they pick what they want to be. Like they just tell me what they want to be and I do it. So really everybody's like, what are you doing next year? I'm like, I have no idea.
Right.
I have to wait until my third grader and my kindergartner instruct me on my job list. Then I'll let you know.
Right. It'll be whatever character is the, you know, the
Caught
hot
their
character.
attention for sure.
So I want to talk a little bit about your online shop and your website, Crochetverse.
Mhm.
And as well, you carry patterns on Etsy, and we're going to be showing a couple of the patterns. Um, what kind of patterns could people expect to get? I know that the Marie Antoinette wig, I mean, it is amazing. If
Thank
I
you.
could crochet, I would totally want to do that.
Yes.
Um, how hard are these patterns to, you know, how hard are these projects to create?
Okay, so I do a little bit of everything. You'll see some stuffies. And then I do wearables, like for example, this jacket I'm wearing is one that I have a pattern for. And then I also, of course, am drawn to costuming and like theatrical stuff. And that's where the wig and stuff comes in. So when I first started patterns, you know, they were still in print. You would send your money away and they would send you a piece of paper and that was it. If you couldn't follow that written piece of paper, too bad for you, you know. So I love where we've gone in our digital age of crochet or fiber arts altogether. You know, whatever your choice may be, you can purchase something and you have a real live connection to somebody. Hey, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Before you'd be like, figure it out. Now you have access to so many people with so much knowledge and skill level, and most of them are so willing to help you. Like they want to see you succeed. So when I write my patterns, firstly, I try to make sure that, I mean, hey, they may not be I do have beginner ones, but generally speaking, I work in the intermediate area. I try to make them something where they're a standalone product. So say you didn't have access to the internet, you could make this from the pattern. But I also like to have a big support system. You know, I have a private Facebook group, which is my Crochetverse community group. If you get something of one of my patterns and you're working along and you say, I have no idea what this means, you can join in, you can make your post, and within minutes, you're going to have an answer to the question. So for me, I want everybody, my goal is to make something where it's enjoyable to make. Like I've done the work for you. You know, you can sit back and you can enjoy it and be assured that your instructions will be clear. And then if it's something new to you, we have such a broad community of help. And I know that that goes with everything because I'm a novice sewer, but I love to sew. And so I know that if I go on my Facebook groups, I have independent designers who've written, you know, sewing patterns. I can go on and I can say, I don't know what this means. And someone will definitely take the time to help me. So it's amazing what you can get for your dollar these days as far as knowledge.
That's amazing. And I like that you had connected that you like to sew, because I
I
think,
do. I
you
love it
know,
all.
what we, are trying to promote in this show and to celebrate is, all of the textile arts, and how there are so many artists that are multi-crafter
Oh,
artists.
for sure. There's crossover.
Mhm.
I think if you're drawn to making, you ultimately will be obsessed with something other than your main one. And that's actually why I picked this jacket, because I know that this is mostly quilting and things like that. So this one is crochet, but it's assembled in a quilting manner. Like you take piece by piece by piece and you attach these little pieces till you end. It's almost like a geometry problem, which I know a lot of quilting is. You take your design, you break it down into shapes, you attach your shapes, and you end up with your end product. And so that's why I selected to wear this jacket, because I think that it's a nice connection between a crochet theory and a quilting theory.
And that's amazing. And it is a beautiful jacket. I love the colors in that jacket. So
It was
going back
inspired
to,
by another artist who upcycles, as a matter of fact, and her name is Catwise. And she takes like old sweaters, not old, but sweaters that may not be used for their main purpose, deconstructs them, and then she serges them together to make new things. So I drew inspiration from her, and I've communicated with her based on this. So they all bring each other together.
that's amazing. And I think that really, you mentioned upcycling. I mean, that is a huge deal right now. We're trying to reduce our carbon footprint, and, upcycling is such a, a big part of that, taking things that, are not worn or not, not used anymore, and creating something new with it. So that's pretty
Which
cool.
is good for the crafting or the fiber arts world to promote, because we do live in a society where sometimes, hey, if it breaks, you throw it away and you buy a new one. So I like that we try to promote, hey, let's see what else we can do with this. Can we take this and make it something else and brand new and give it a new life? Which is part of why I love, fiber arts.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, can you tell me what have been your favorite costumes that you have crocheted for your kids?
So I will say the first one that got some viral attention that really shocked me, I was like, wait a minute, people care that I'm making, or not even care, but like I am able to attract the attention of somebody who has no interest in fiber arts with something that I made, would be the ET.
Uh,
And that was the first costume, like uh, the local news, had come to our house and did a story about it. And I was like, this is so weird. But I really love to be able to make something for my kids, my family, do my preferred art form, but then also be able to see other people drawn into it. Like I've had a lot of people be like, I want to learn how to do this because I saw this and you've inspired me to try this. And that's something I really love, like being able to draw new people in and having, more people come into our community, because ultimately that's the goal of any hand art. You want to pass that knowledge down to somebody else, so then therefore they can pass that down. There's no real way to pass down the knowledge that you have except person to person, which is a beautiful thing. You can't do it any other way except some person telling another person. So it's a great way to connect.
that is a great way to connect. And I can definitely see how people could look at the costumes that you've created. I mean, the Slimer, I mean, that
That's
was,
probably my second favorite.
yeah,
So
that's
I
such
think
an,
that's
I'm yes, love the film, and I mean it's such a cute costume. And then you've gone all the way up to, Krampus with like the fake teeth. I mean,
And
that
so
was
many people were like, are
crazy.
those real teeth? And so I would joke, I'd be like, yeah, they're real teeth. And then like one comment later, I'm like, no, they're resin dental. Like you just can get resin. You could buy teeth on eBay. Who would have known? But I like, that's one of my ones. I was like, all right, let's see how far I can go with this. So
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like it might be scary to some, but to me, it is just like it's about the detail and the work that has gone into that costume. That it's just, to me, is so
for sure,
amazing.
Krampus is scary, but I mean, he's supposed to be a little
He is
creepy.
supposed
But
to be
a lot,
scary.
some of my subject matter is cute, and some of it is creepy. So a little bit of both.
Yes. Well, so other than costumes, you do crochet some other pieces. I specifically was looking at the Blues Clues puppy dog that you created for the Blues Clues costume, as well as the monster mistletoe. I guess it's a wall hanging.
Right. So actually, the Blues Clues is something that so that's another designer's pattern. But what I did do is I customized it to my own needs, which is something that I think is cool. Like that's one of my favorite things about when people use patterns that I create. They take a base pattern and then they customize it to something that suits what they want, and or it pushes them to be creative within their own skill level. Mm-hmm. So that Blues Clues is another person's pattern, and her name is escaping me right now, but it was Buddy the Realistic Dog. And so then I turned it into Blues Clues because my youngest was really in love with Blues Clues at the time. So that's a nice way where you can marriage in somebody's pattern and then your own desires or skill level together. And then the second pattern, can you remind me again what the second pattern was?
The monster mistletoe.
Oh, that was completely freehand. He just, over Christmas, I had seen my kids were showing me a YouTube video about pranks, and they had like a stretchy tongue on it. And I was like, I think I can do something with that. So in my purchase history on eBay, first we have teeth, then we have tongues. So, and then that I actually just pulled together some things that I, bought ready-made and then put my own stuff on it. So really those two projects are indicative of how I like to bring in ready-made items, other people's not ideas, but other people's patterns, and then put your own touches on it. So never be afraid to stray from what you're given to make it your own.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And there's so many. Do you want to show the hippo that you have created?
So recently I've been into one of the things I like to do is realism, or try my best to get as close to realism as possible. So this is my baby pygmy hippo, and he's actually been really popular, and something that I like to do that can kind of bump your crochet up to the next level. Once you complete it, you can take watered down fabric paints and you can highlight where shadows would naturally be on a piece, and you can really up the ante, if you will, on the appearance of your work with depth and shadowing by using fabric paints. But little tail and
that's amazing.
All that kind of stuff.
That is amazing. It's so cute. So cute. So what do you hope to pass down to your children with your artwork? Any skills, feelings? What do you hope to pass down?
He's got to get some gummies, some gummies and some Capri Sun. So I think mostly for me, I want to pass down to my children to value time, because I think that time is a commodity that some people just don't get, but it's important because we are the only people you have to have human interaction to donate time. So a machine can make something or whatever, fine. But I want them to know that if somebody creates something and they say, I would like this kind of money for this item, they won't be like, that's too much. I can go to Walmart, there's no disparaging that, because I myself have purchased $5 Walmart hats, whatever, it doesn't matter. But in addition to understanding ready-made, I want them to know that when somebody gives you something that they made with their own two hands, it's an expression of love, and it is a culmination of oftentimes 20 years of spending the time to get good at that art form. So I mostly want them to appreciate time as a commodity. And then, of course, I want them to have the good memories attached. For example, not last year, obviously, because it was COVID, but the prior year, we were able to go, we were on Ripley's Believe It or Not, on a television show in San Diego. We were in a book. So I took them to Walmart, and their book that they were in was on the shelf. So we were able to open the Ripley's Believe It or Not book, and they saw themselves in there, and they're like, my mom made that. And so now we're at a point where they'll see something and they're like, Mom, can you make me that? Instead of Mom, can you buy me that? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with buying stuff, because I buy plenty of ready-made stuff, but it is beautiful that they understand and appreciate handwork and artistry and artisanship.
That is amazing. I truly, I agree with you, and it is so nice that you're able to do that with your children and kind of express that,
Right.
those sentiments, because especially these days, you want them to know, the value of like what what you're doing for them. So you
Right.
want to
And then
feel
the emphasis
appreciated
is
too,
love.
right?
Yeah. So I mean, just like if somebody gives you anything, if they draw you a picture, if they write you a card, if they write you a poem, you have to just realize that love was behind it, or love or caring or something along those. And those are really things that you just can't buy.
That's really nice. That's really nice. What is an interesting fact about you that not many people know?
Hmm. I was born on a leap year.
Oh,
So I am really only 11 years old, which is
nice.
amazing because I could crochet fairly well for an 11-year-old. But yeah, so I would say maybe being born on leap year is something that I think is kind of neat about me.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
also saw on your Instagram that you and your children were on the Kelly Clarkson show.
Yes, we were. So that also was 2 years ago, and that was the year that I had made the Predator costume and the Skeletor costume. And that was crazy. She's so nice. Like you think like a lot of times, like you'll watch people on TV, you're like, oh, that's not really how they are. No, she really is that nice. So that was really exciting and really fun. And I know we did it remotely. And so they'll practice a whole bunch of times with you. And then without you knowing it, it's the real take. And because I think that's their way to make sure that you're natural during your thing. So on the real take, I had said something and my son is behind me and he's going like
Oh,
this on national TV. He was like, I mean, but again, you and I talked earlier about real life. This is
right,
real life.
right.
We're not always on for like a show. Sometimes things happen. And so I just thought that was funny, but that was really neat. I love
That
that.
is really cool. You're right. This is real life and things happen. Before we go, you had mentioned that you have a book coming out. Do you want to tell our
I
listeners about
do.
that?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the publisher is in Pennsylvania, where you guys are based, which I think is pretty neat. But this is coming out. It's going to be later in February. It's called Creative Crochet Projects. Of course, my name's Stephanie Pokorny, and it's going to be pretty much, I think, most everywhere. We'll be able to get it on Amazon and so on and so forth. But I'm really excited about it because I had connected with some people prior for a book, and then it just never worked out in a way that was plausible. But this is the first time that I put something in print, and it feels nice to have something in your hands. So this will be coming out in the end of February, and so this will be my birthday celebration for my non-leap year birthday.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on
Thank
your first
you.
book published. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be included in a community of multiple fiber arts. I appreciated that a lot.
Thank you. Well, if you want to visit Stephanie's website, it's crochetverse.com. And Stephanie, what is your Instagram handle?
Also Crochetverse. You can find me as Crochetverse on pretty much any of the social medias.
Well, thank you so much. I encourage you to check Stephanie's work out on her Instagram and her website. I think she's amazing. And I greatly appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, there's still more to come today. If you want to stick around, live content will be happening all of today and all of the rest of the weekend. We hope you join us. Thanks. We'll see you soon.